Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite plants, which is raspberry leaf. So I did just take a second before I came live to actually clip a little bit of my raspberry plant. Okay, just had to make sure my sound is working. All right, so this is actually what raspberry looks like when it's the top part of the plant, which is going to be the youngest. It's very green in color, and it usually has all of this is actually called a leaflet. So all of this is one leaf, but it has a 3 leaflet or actually 5 leaflet pattern. And so when it's younger, it has a 3, but then as it gets older, it has that 5 leaf pattern. I also have some of it dried, so I'll show you guys what that looks like. So I'll just go ahead and talk about one of the ways to identify it. Wild berries are one of the easiest things to find when you're foraging. It's really common here to actually find wild blackberries. And so blackberry plants actually look really similar. And so the way that I am able to tell them apart is when you flip over the raspberry leaf, it has a light underside that looks like white or grayish. So that's how you know that you're dealing with a raspberry plant if you don't have the fruit on it. Now, when you find them wild, they will have thorns on it. And I don't know if you guys can see the little thorns on here. So whenever I actually do handle raspberry, I handle them by the leaves because they will prick you. All right, so raspberry leaf is actually called, the scientific name is Rubus idaeus, and it's actually a part of the rose family. So it's called the Rosaceae family, in the same family with roses, blackberry, some other plants like hawthorn, which is usually used the berry, but also other parts of the plant is also in the same family. Some other plants, wild cherry bark is in the same family as well. Let's see. So some of the actions of the plant. So when we say action, it just means some of the way in which the plant works. And there's some terms. And so I'll just say what the terms are, and then I'll just kind of break it down if I think it's something that you might not be able to understand. So it is a plant. Most of our plants are anti-inflammatory. I mean, that's a big name, anti-inflammatory plant. But it is one of those plants. It's a vulnerary plant, as it's called, and that just means that it actually helps with wound healing. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. It's an antioxidant plant. We know eating our berries that, they have lots of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, but the actual leaves are more nutritious and more antioxidant than the actual fruit. It also is used as a uterine tonic. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but it is used for the woman's reproductive system and to strengthen the uterus. That's one of the main uses of this plant. Also diuretic plant. So that just helps you to urinate. We'll talk more about all of these, but I'm just going to continue naming some. And also it's hemostatic, which just means that it can help actually stop bleeding. All right, so this is a plant that is cooling. It's used on the skin, as I talked about, to actually stop bleeding because it's very astringent. It just basically can help wounds to kind of close. If you ever had a lemon or something and it kind of makes your mouth like pucker, it does the same thing. It tightens the skin. So that's actually one of the ways in which it can help to heal the skin. And then with it being anti-inflammatory, it can be really useful on the skin as well. Great. I didn't have any notes here today. So let's see. So when you actually find this plant along some of the stems, towards the bottom, usually you can see some reddish tint. And that reddish, actually, a lot of plants that have red in them can actually be used for like redness of the skin. So that's one of the ways to use raspberry leaf. Even though it's not used as much on the skin, it is a favorite plant for mouthwashes. It can help, with the anti-inflammatory and also with the astringent. And because it's healing, it's used a lot of times in mouthwashes or gargles for the mouth. And then also this can be used as sitz bath. So it's because it's astringent again and healing. It can be used after giving birth as well. But usually this is taken as an infusion, which is just making an herbal tea. So this is, I only have very small amount. I actually have some more of it, but I left it and I'm waiting for someone to send it to me. But I'll just show you what the dry plant looks like. This is actually raspberry leaf that I did not dry. When I dry it myself, I prefer to dry the whole leaf. And let me just say, I apologize for the background noise. My husband's actually working on doing the floors, but I didn't want to cancel the live. All right, so this is what it looks like. This is very dark. I would say if you can, it is best to go ahead and harvest your own leaves and dry them whole in a dehydrator or air dry. These dry very quickly in a dehydrator. I like to put them in a dehydrator in a few hours, maybe 6 hours or so. They'll be dry. And one of the ways I actually like to harvest this, and I'm getting off topic, but I like to actually harvest it because of the 3-leaf pattern. What I do is I go and I take the 3rd leaf or the biggest leaf, and I take this off of all of the different plants. And so when I come back, if this leaf has not grown back yet, that lets me know that I'm coming back too quickly, because you don't want to over harvest. And because I'm taking 1 leaf of the 3, I'm not over harvesting a certain part. And so that way I'm not taking too much energy and too much, of the leaves from the plants, because the leaves are not just for us to harvest. They actually have benefits, or they actually have protections and with synthesizing chlorophyll. So they are very important to the plants. They don't just grow, for any reason. They have a purpose. So you don't want to over harvest the leaves. So don't get overzealous and don't take too much from one plant. And so this is a way, and I usually harvest just this leaf, as I said, and I get enough to where it's very thick, probably like a wallet, like how the thickness of a wallet, or like a deck of cards usually. So I'm able to get a lot. This is a perennial plant, so it does grow up. It has very, very deep roots, and it's even notorious for moving several feet. So it will move. It can be invasive. So you want to make sure, I like to plant them in pots. And then I also have a raised bed that's just my raspberry patch, as I call it. And so this is definitely a plant that you'll have enough if you want to use it for teas. It doesn't get bothered that much by insects and pests, but when it does, I've noticed that the Japanese beetles like this plant. So back to the dried plant again. I prefer to dry my own because it's very green. Whenever I dry things, they look exactly as when they were fresh almost. They keep their color, and that's very important. Now, another thing is, when you're harvesting, you want to take from the top of the plant. That's going to be the youngest part of the plant, and that's going to be where most of the nutrients are. As the leaves on the bottom, they just tend to lose their nutrients. And so you're getting the freshest part, you're getting the most nutrients. And so what you notice when you buy, thank you for joining. What you'll notice when you buy these herbs, when they're just going and taking probably en masse a bunch of raspberry. And from the darkness of it, I would think that they're taking some of the older leaves of the plant. And so it's better, like I said, if you can do it on your own and take the youngest part of the plant at the top. The leaves are also, usually they're a little bit, you got construction going on. Usually the leaves are also tougher. So when you're deciding what you want to eat from a plant, you always just want to take off those top leaves. That pretty much goes with anything. So, and I'll make sure I have a link down below if I don't already, where you can purchase raspberry leaves, but I'm pretty sure that I have it down below. Some of the things, the variety of raspberries that I actually grow is called the heritage variety, and I like them because they're very drought resistant. But this is a plant that I find you don't really have to do anything with, and I need those plants that come back every year. And these bear the summer all the way throughout the fall until it's very, very cold, actually. So I really do like growing raspberries. And I actually have some clips. I almost forgot. So let me go ahead and share and show you guys what it actually looks like. So this is my raspberry patch. I have a video, and I'll make sure I link it down below, when I actually planted this patch. I started from just 2 pots that I had, and I decided I really wanted lots of raspberries. And so I went and I planted them in this bed. And the next year, you can see that they have totally grown, and they can even grow more, but they're confined. And so you can see, again, the top part of the plant is what you want. And raspberries, let me go ahead to my slide. This is up close. You can see the pattern again of the 3 leaves. I don't believe I see any that have 5 leaves here. You can see a little bit of the stems that are reddish. And it does get woody. Whenever you're growing like raspberry, blackberries, usually the second year's canes are what they're called, is what the fruit actually grows on. So you need to wait 2 years. So this is just a short video of me and my kids getting some of the raspberries. And I just actually have to hold these plants up because they're very heavy of fruit. Here's the other clip of just showing, how they grow. And if you can see, you have to look pretty quickly. I may just show this one again. To see the stages, you have to wait, of course, until they're nice and red. You don't want to pick them too quickly or too early. And actually, raspberries, if you can't pick them, then they're not ready. You have to wait because it'll be very hard to try to pick them, but then they come right off. Raspberries also, more so than other berries, bruise really easily, and they break apart really easily. And so you can have lots of red juice on your hands, and that just, again, kind of lets you know that it is wonderful for any kind of bleeding as well. I don't think I have any more pictures. Oh, but I did want to give you guys a reminder, so I'm so glad I had this here, that I do have a class. It's called Women's Wellness with Herbs. It's going to be October the 23rd. And we're going to be talking about women's wellness at all different stages of life. And we'll also talk about some disorders that are common amongst, women. So we'll talk about menstruation, postpartum, menopause, pregnancy, fibroids, PCOS, cancer, all of those different things. So uterine cancer. So you want to make sure you click the link down below to get yourself some tickets. And with all of my live classes, you can actually join on camera and ask your questions and get real-time, conversation and discussion. So that'll be a really good class. I'm excited for that. All right. So back to talking about raspberry. So talking about bleeding. So raspberry leaf actually is useful for if you have a delayed menses. It can actually help you to bring about a cycle. And it's so funny that so many plants can help you if you are bleeding too much. I'm thinking yarrow here. If you are, it can staunch bleeding, but then it can also help you if you have a delayed cycle. So that's one of the uses of raspberry leaf. I wouldn't say it's one of the best for that purpose, but it is one of the actions of the plant. All right, so let's talk about its use, its most common use, and that's going to be as what's called a uterine tonic. So if you're not familiar with what a tonic means when it comes to herbalism, it's just an herb that is strengthening to a certain part. So in this case, a uterine tonic is strengthening to the uterus. Typically, these herbs are ones that are like astringent or diuretic. And so it actually helps to strengthen and to tone the uterus. And so that just kind of tells you about some of the uses for the plant or when you would want to use it. Okay, so usually raspberry leaf is used during pregnancy, during the 2nd and 3rd trimester. And so I have studies. Let me just tell you the studies that were found on it. When you take it during pregnancy, and I actually used it a lot in the 2nd and 3rd trimester, and I did experience this, but it helps the body to have an easier and shorter labor. I almost had my son in the car. He just really was just shooting out. Whereas with my daughter, I went in at 1 p.m. and I had labor, and then I didn't have her until the next morning. And so I really saw a difference in that. And so definitely, I think every woman would want that, to have a shorter labor. And so really beneficial to take while pregnant during the 2nd and 3rd trimester. Studies have shown also that if you take it during the last trimester, it has a positive impact on the child as well. So after birth, it can help with healing the vagina. And like I said, you can use it in a sitz bath, and it helps to contract the uterus and get it back to its size. And what it found also, I have a question in the private chat. Let's see. Oh yes, you said you got a new electric tea maker and you're looking forward to making your own teas. I actually have a new kettle that I have to use, and I do want to bring it and show how it works and talk about it. But it's really huge, and I actually present it, and so that was really nice. So I'll have to show you guys that soon. And thank you for reminding me, because I have it in a box and I need to use it to make really big teas. So when you actually, what it showed for the positive impacts on the child is that it found that they tended to have less issues as well during birth. So it is a really beneficial herb that I think definitely that women should take while they're pregnant. Also, I talked about it does have antioxidants, but it is known also for iron. So for those who are trying to get, more iron in the system, it does have a pretty good amount of iron, and it usually is used with nettle. That's another herb that's used during pregnancy that does have some iron as well. And so those two are usually paired together for that purpose. Let's see. So because of because of the source of iron, or it being a source of iron, it is used for things like anemia and just low blood issues. Also, with it being astringent, it's also used, like I said, for excess bleeding, but it's also used for diarrhea as well. Actually, its cousin, blackberry, the blackberry root, I talked about it in my last live a couple of days ago, is probably like the number one remedy. But raspberry can also help as well. So as you can see, people a lot of times don't believe that herbs can do so many things, but I say definitely try it out and see for yourself. Also, another reason why raspberry is good after giving birth, you could use per se after having birth if, was like hemorrhaging, if you're bleeding too much. It can also help as a hemostatic to slow down the bleeding. And it can be used also during the cycle as well if you have too much bleeding. Let's see. It is also used for menstrual cramps or just stomach cramps as well. I wouldn't say that's, again, one of the main uses of it, but it can be useful as well. Let me see if there's some other things I wanted to mention. The taste of the raspberry leaf is, I find that this is an herb that most people could tolerate because it does have more of a little bit of sweetness and more, I would say, if you had nettle, so I'll just show what it looks like again. If you had nettle, I would say it's just a little bit better tasting. It's a very dark colored tea, and whenever you notice that you have a very deep pigmented tea, you know that it has lots of different minerals in it as well. So I'm just going to take a second. Any of the people, especially the members that are here, if you want to give me some questions, now's the time to do it, because I'm actually wrapped up pretty early. I think I might show you guys a tea since I have some extra time with this little bit of raspberry that I have left. While we're waiting, I'll show you guys this.
No more books with recipes that you won't actually use. Let this book be your guide to herbs in everyday life. So when I started this book, I just knew that it had to be about herbs, and I wanted it to be colorful and fun, and I wanted it to be like a tea party because I really do love teas, and that's my thing, and that's how I started. And then I started doing all types of things like cold teas, and then I went to facial steams and syrups and oils and vinegars and oxymels and pretty much anything, and teaching you how to make these things too, how to make your bone broth and butter and salad dressing and poultices and how to dry your own herbs. And so it just really became all the things, and I said, why not have my friends join me too? So that's when the book was really born, and I knew it was something special, and I can't wait to share it with all of you. So I want to encourage you to check out all the links and to pre-order and get yours.
All right, so I do have many different, as you just seen in Everyday Herbs, I have many different recipes many with raspberry leaf. The one that comes to mind is the pregnancy tea that I did have. That was really a nice nutritive blend. I'm trying to think of the other teas. I do have like a sun tea. I want to say it's my hawthorn fruit punch recipe as well, which is a nice, wonderful cold tea that I actually made a video for, and you can actually check it out on Herb Rally. So I'm going to just use this raspberry leaf, and I'm going to add some other ingredients just to make another one of my nutritive teas. So in it, I have, let me move this camera down just a tad. All right. So I have nettle here. Stinging nettle is what we usually use for medicinal benefits. It is a dark green tea, and it's very nutritive as well. So I like to use them together. They do have similar properties and very palatable taste. So I'm just going to use my hands here, and I'll just drink this tea afterwards. Okay, so as you can see, lots of different green. Looks boring. So we're going to liven it up. Next here I have some purple malva. Now this is another nutritive plant. It's in the same family. It has its own family called the Malvaceae or mallow. And you may have heard of marshmallow. It's very similar, and it has the similar uses, but it has pretty purple flowers, if you guys can see. Oops. So that can help liven it up a little bit, if you guys can see. And it has some lighter greens in there. So already it made it look a little bit more interesting. And malva is another good tasting herb with sweetness. And then because the raspberry leaf, killing me. Because the raspberry leaf and the nettle are very dry, the malva does help to bring a little bit more moistness to the formula. And then I next have some rose petals. And of course, that's going to add some more color to it as well. We added more than I wanted there. Hey, no bad words. It's a family show. All right. So I'm mixing here. So normally if I'm making a tea, I would have a bigger container. But I didn't know I was making a tea. So you can pick up the purples and the reds. So it looks really beautiful. And I could leave this tea as is because they already taste really good. But I think that this needs a little something unexpected because they're all good tasting. You know, the floral is something different. But I don't know. It's missing something to get someone excited, I guess. So let's see. I'm going to look on my shelf and see what we can find. Or I'll let you guys keep looking at it. All right. So what would you guys add to this formula? All right, let's see what I can find. Oh, I think I found what I have. Let's see, this would be good. So I think I'm gonna go with this. There were some other options, but I think I like cardamom. The first thing I saw, I love the taste of it. It's sweet, but it has like a spice. If you guys never seen cardamom, let me go ahead and open up the pod. So when I do the cardamom, I go ahead and open it up, and that's what it actually looks like inside. These black seeds, that's what you want. Now with these kind of spices, like a cinnamon or a nutmeg, you actually don't need much of it at all. So I'm just going to do that for a couple of these. And cardamom is used for a lot of different things, and it naturally can help to to sweeten the broth. That's what actually a lot of our culinary herbs do. They help to freshen the breath. Great. So just break it apart. Now you don't have to do this, but I just prefer to do it just so that I can make sure that the flavor is in the tea. Let me just open about maybe more. Because as I said, this is very strong. It's as if you use like a clove or a cinnamon. If you guys know, you just need a little bit. Because if you do put too much, it can overpower the tea. And I probably didn't even need to put 3, but I'm just doing it so you guys can familiarize yourself with what cardamom looks like if you've never seen it. Okay? And now I feel like this tea is complete. Stems in here from this malva. But it's perfectly fine because I'm not eating it. We're steeping it. But this is what the nutritive tea would look like. And you can just do this at home. Put herbs together that you think would go together. They have similar properties and similar purposes. And then you can put things in there to bring out the flavor or to make the effect stronger. Or whatever you personally think is needed for the different tea. All right, so this is a pretty quick live. Oh, I do have some messages right here in the private chat. Okay, let's see. How do you know what herbs to put together to make tea? I have a few herbs that I really want to explore more. So that's a really good question. I think I answered it a little bit, but you just want to start out with things that complement one another, you know? And I think we know, intrinsically what goes good together. Like if you're cooking, you're a good cook, and you use herbs and spices in your cooking. And that's for you and TC. And so when you're cooking, you just know, it needs a little bit of this or a little bit of that. And so it's pretty much the same thing. When you know what you're trying to achieve, you know that this herb will work really well, and then that this one will work with it. And like I said, I know that nettle and raspberry leaf is really drying. And so I wanted to put something that's a little bit moistening in there. So you can, you kind of already know, what the herbs do. You got to know them, really good individually. And then you'll know how to put them together or what might work with it or what doesn't. But it can also be trial and error. I've made some things and I'm like, oof, that was too much of something. And so you can also do that as well. So it's just a learning process and really just have fun. When you're making, like what I just made would be more of a beverage tea. When you're making beverage teas, you really don't have to worry as much. The herbs that you would want to use are herbs that it's not gonna, it's not gonna be a big deal if you put too much in it, other than it might not taste good or whatever, but it's not gonna be an actual issue. So that was a really good question. Oh, let me give this little reminder here before I get to it. And it gives you guys just a little bit more seconds to ask your question.
If you want to join in on today's discussion and you want to support the channel, go ahead and subscribe and then click that join button. For as little as $1.99 a month, you get early access to new videos, exclusive members only playlists, and member only live chats. For $4.99, you actually get $5 off of each of my books, so it's essentially free, discount on everything in my store, photo and status updates, and you get to join me on live stream so we can talk face to face. On the family level, you get access to my herbalism live streams and exclusive herbalism videos that you won't have on the other tiers. So what does the members only playlist consist of? Right now, there are 44 different videos in there. Some of them include a breakdown on virus-proofing your health, using herbs daily and showing what it's like in the garden, a garden update, what are adaptogens, what are alternative herbs, how to make a tincture of lemon balm, and also showing how to identify lemon balm, how to make tinctures of various different herbs for absent or heavy periods, what are anodynes, some of my favorite essential oils, including a lecture over an hour long teaching the introduction to herbs. So that's really wonderful for beginner herbalists. All kinds of information, even previews into my course, like my video about dandelions or where to purchase herbs. Also showing how to make my lemon ginger sea salt scrubs. I am known for my sugar scrubs. How to make lip balm, and so much more. So you'll get a sneak peek into all of these videos that never made it and will never be on my channel as well.
Okay, so I'll answer the question that I have next. So you said, I've got some lavender growing. I want to know how to use it. Oh, lavender, really wonderful. So you could use it if you want to use it for baking. I think it's a really good option. I made a wonderful lavender extract. So just as you would make a vanilla extract, you can actually make a lavender extract and you can add it to your baking. And I think that it's something, again, that people, it's unexpected, but it has like such a beautiful floral taste. It's one of our herbs that we kind of already use for culinary use. And so it would work really good. I've had lavender in chocolate before, and so I've added it into chocolate dishes, and it's really good. Another way that you can use lavender, it's really known for sleep. And so actually I have many different recipes that I use lavender for sleepy time to, you know, relax or to help you go to sleep. So that's a really good way to use it. And you don't have to use it alone. Some other herbs like chamomile would be really good. A lot of times if you want to have just like really good tasting tea and you just put like nice, you know, herbs that look pretty and taste really good, roses and chamomile and lavender, you know, that's really common as well. Another way that you can use it is also for stomach problems. So like if someone is having like cramping, bloating or anything, those culinary herbs really work really good to help calm the stomach. So that's another way that you can use your lavender. So yeah, I hope that was helpful to you. But I'm going to let you guys go. I think that's the last comment that I have. My members, you can stay there and ask any additional questions if you have. But I'll see you guys next time. Make sure you go ahead and hit the like button and leave a comment down below.